The weirdest thing to me about this entire Diablo Immortal controversy is that I don't think it would have been that hard for a company like Blizzard, who's been around for so long, to avoid this entire problem. In fact, I think there are 3 things they could have done that would have made all of this a non-issue. So, what could have Blizzard done to avoid this problem? Well, I'm glad you didn't ask, but I'm gonna answer anyway. Alright, so in case you don't know what I'm talking about, quick recap. Over the weekend, Blizzard held BlizzCon, their annual event where they talk all things Blizzard. And this event, this is important to note, is attended primarily by PC gamers, hardcore fanboys. You would think the company would know this, but this was one of their big missteps. Even though, in their defense, I have to be honest, the company made clear in a blog post back in October that Diablo 4 will not be shown at the event. There was a job posting on the Blizzard website that pretty much hinted at the idea that Diablo 4 was being worked on. And people are excited about the idea of a new entry in the series. So, instead of showing Diablo 4, they showed this, Diablo Immortal, a phone-based MMO. People were pretty upset about this, and you don't even have to watch a full video of the event to figure this out. This is the like-to-dislike ratio on the cinematic trailer video on YouTube. It's the most disliked video ever on Blizzard's YouTube account. So, needless to say, a misstep. And I can understand why people were so upset. I'm a big fan of the original Diablo game. I played the hell out of the game. Pun very much intended. Even though I come from a religious family, I had to kind of hide the game that I was playing, because if my mom ever dreamed that I was playing a game called Diablo, and for those who don't know, I'm Brazilian, so if the game was called Devil, my mom would know, but Diablo? My mom would know what was up. So I had to hide the game from my parents and all that, and I have fond memories of playing that game. It was the first game I played online back in dial-up. I mentioned this in my previous video. I said in my previous video that I didn't get much into Diablo 2, and I got a lot of flack because a lot of people tell me that that's the best game in the series. What I really should have explained, this is my fault, is that I didn't get into the game because I couldn't afford it when it first came out, and I kind of missed the train on it. I wasn't saying that I played Diablo 2 and prefer the first one. I really never played Diablo 2, but I intend to fix that, so don't worry about it. Let's not get mad at me here, okay? I'm not on trial here. Blizzard is. Anyway, like I said in the beginning, I think there are 3 things that Blizzard could have, no, should have done to prevent all of this. And they're pretty simple. And yes, like I said before, they did make a blog post saying that we wouldn't be seeing Diablo 4 at this event. So, some people said, if you got too excited about the game and didn't get it, you really only have yourself to blame because they didn't promise you that. And yes, you're technically right, which is the best kind of right. But I mean, can you blame people? People love the series and they thought they were getting a new entry in the franchise. And here's what I feel further adds to the confusion fans are feeling right now. If you go back to the blog post I mentioned, you'll notice they never actually say Diablo 4. They just say they are working on something that they're very excited about. They're going to talk about it when the time is right. But they stopped short of saying Diablo 4. And in an interview with Kotaku after the controversy, one of the Blizzard co-founders said, "We knew our audience here desperately wants to see and hear about one thing in particular, but again, he never says Diablo 4. It's so wishy-washy, this whole playing coy act they're doing. It seeds confusion because you have to wonder, is it even Diablo 4 they're making? We don't know. What Blizzard could have done is assure people Diablo 4 is still coming, maybe show something. And they could have showed something because, as Kotaku reported, there is a video made by Blizzard featuring Alan Adam, one of the co-founders of the company, where he talks about the development of Diablo, or rather, not exactly Diablo 4 according to people who leaked this story. He talks about a new Diablo project, which is pretty much understood to be Diablo 4. They had this video, but Blizzard says that they weren't planning on showing this at BlizzCon. And I ask you, why not? It would have gone a long way to show what else they got cooking. I mean, why not? I don't understand this. I mean, think about the way Nintendo handled the new Pokemon titles. As you know, we're getting 2 new Pokemon games this generation. We're getting Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, which is kind of a mishmash between a traditional Pokemon RPG adventure and Pokemon Go. Hardcore Pokemon fans who prefer a traditional RPG rather than the casual gameplay of Pokemon Go were a little miffed. But you can't really be that upset when you know you're getting a full, proper Pokemon experience just around the corner. It's coming, and if you want to play this in the meantime, you're welcome to try it. But if you don't, just wait a little bit longer and you're going to get what you actually wanted. That goes a long way in making people realize that they don't have to raise the pitchforks over a game that they don't want to play. What you actually want is coming. Relax. I guarantee you that if they had paired this announcement with, hey, just so you know, Diablo 4 is still coming, it's going to be great, and check this out, here's a video of it. Or at least just the developers talking about it. Even just like a little behind the scenes featurette about the making of Diablo 4, that would have gone a long way, I guarantee you. The second thing they could have done to avoid all this is maybe don't even show this at BlizzCon at all. I mean, think about it. Obviously, and again, Blizzard really ought to know this, the kind of person who spends the money to go to BlizzCon is not the kind of person who's going to get hyped about a mobile game. These are not the same, it's not the same demographic. Again, Blizzard, how did you fail to realize this? Anybody could have told you that that crowd, the people waiting to see this presentation, these guys are PC gamers. And PC gamers are not going to get excited about your mobile game. I'm sorry. So why bring this to BlizzCon at all? A lot of people have accused Blizzard of slapping a Diablo logo on top of a pre-existing action MMORPG that's very popular in China, that is developed by the same people they hired to make Diablo Immortal. And the comparisons are pretty fair. The games are very similar, but there's only so many ways you can do action RPG on a small little screen with a bunch of little buttons. So yeah, I think any action RPG on a cell phone is going to look pretty similar. But regardless, the suspicion is warranted. So if that was your plan all along, if you want to tap into the lucrative Chinese market of these phone MMOs, why even bother showing this to us? And yes, I understand that if you were to announce a Chinese exclusive Diablo experience on the phone, gamers would be upset anyway, but I think it would have been less so than the alternative. I think, anyway. And finally, the third thing you could have, again, really should have done to prevent all of this is to be more upfront about the monetization scheme of this game. A lot of the reason why gamers, hardcore gamers, are hesitant, to say the least, about mobile games is that this is an industry that is plagued by microtransactions, in-app purchases. These games, more often than not, are designed from the ground up to be nothing more than glorified slot machines. And people don't like this. This has been a problem for gamers for quite a while, the whole loot box controversy. And considering Blizzard has employed the loot box approach in a lot of their games, again, it's understandable why people are kind of upset and not expecting the best experience ever out of this game. So if they had said outright, this is not going to be a freemium game, this is not going to be a pay-to-win game, failing that, they could have said, yes, there will be some microtransactions, but they are cosmetic. You won't need to pay to play this game. You can spend some money if you want to improve your character, the way it looks and everything, but you don't have to. That would have gone a long way. Actually, come to think about it, there's a fourth way they could have avoided this problem. Why is this exclusively a mobile experience? There really isn't a reason for that the way I see it. In fact, I think if this game had a PC version, and not only that, but if people on PC could play with or against people playing on their cell phones, this would have been actually pretty sweet. And I'll give an example why. I had a friend when I was a kid. I met this guy back in grade 7, and we still are pretty close friends to this day. And we were both pretty big Diablo fans. Now, I have remained a gamer my whole life. This guy, kind of life got in the way, and he doesn't really play games as much anymore. He was a Sega Genesis guy back in the day. I was a Super Nintendo guy back in the day. And now I don't even think he knows what's going on in gaming these days. But he misses it. We talk all the time about how awesome it was when he used to play these games together. He wants to get back to it, but it's not as easy as somebody who hasn't even looked at games in the last, say, 10 years. But he knows Diablo. If I could hit my friend up and said, hey, download this thing on your phone, I'm going to get it on my computer, and we're going to play together just like in the old days, and he knows he won't have to upgrade his computer or buy a new system or whatever, he can just download it on his phone and we can play together, this would have been actually a pretty sweet way to bring those old Diablo fans back into the fray. But alas, Blizzard messed this one up completely. Which is, again, I have to say, because it bears repeating, it's disappointing for a company that really should be way more savvy than this. But in reality, I have to realize that this might not be so much ignorance and just greed getting in the way. Maybe they just really wanted to get into that sweet, sweet cell phone freemium MMO game. I like money too, I can't entirely blame them. But what do you think? What do you think about these, well, I said 3, but really are 4 things they could have done to prevent this whole controversy? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, I wanted to let you know that I think it's a privilege to have you here. Make sure to leave a comment, like, subscribe, you know how it is. I'm very active on social media, I'm always chatting with people here, so all my links are down below. And that's all the time I have for today. I'm Izzy, and I'm done.